Yaps. It's in the name. Okay, I was recommended I watch this. Never take exercise advice from this health expert. This can go a lot of different ways.
It makes you happier, healthier, stronger, able to live out your final years on this earth with dignity and freedom. Exercise is just such a wholesome and helpful thing. Yet
True.
there are some people who think that encouraging exercise or even talking about it is toxic. And one
These people have a mental disease.
of these people was just hired as a public health consultant. This is Virgie Tovar. You may have already heard that the city of San Francisco
This is a health expert? This looks like Jar Jar Binks' cousin.
brought her on a few months ago as
Excuse me, not Jar Jar Binks. Who's the fucking slug? Oh my god.
a consultant
From Star Wars.
for the
You know what
public
I'm
health
talking about.
department. The problem? Well, as we'll see in this video, Virgie is not a very big fan of health. And recently she's taken this to a new extreme. Recently, Virgie's been hating on exercise. Guys, I've been really trying not to talk about body positivity anymore. I made my points. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. The ideas put forth by the body positivity and health at every size movements are silly. They don't make any sense. They're just not logical.
This is true. This is you know what? I'm gonna comment on this. It's absolutely not true. If you have if you are carrying around excess body weight, it is not good for your joints. It is not good for your heart. Right? Carrying around extra muscle mass is different than carrying around extra fat mass. Muscle mass is actually strong and can carry itself, and ideally more than itself. Fat mass doesn't do anything other than just be a burden to what's more your joints, your heart, your just body as a whole, right? And if you're I would imagine one body that is primarily muscular and one body that is primarily fat, the one that is primarily made of fat, way more inflamed. And if you have even just a little bit of just overall inflammation, you're already just going to be uneasy. You're going to be on high alert. Like there's so many people who are just inflamed from what they eat, their lifestyle, for everything else, that's why they're so on edge all the time. If they could take away the inflammation and like get some daily movement in, they would be a completely different person.
Best way to win the war against fat is to give up the fight.
But the public health department thing caught my eye and made me wonder, what's Virgie up to lately? So I go check out her Instagram and I see she has a problem with exercise now. So I'm like, fine, we're making the video. So I guess today we're catching up with
I agree. That's what I do. Shit.
Virgie's fresh takes on exercise, health, and weight loss. And childhood obesity. Virgie was actually recently on Dr. Phil, and that's a large amount of what they discussed.
Does anybody disagree that we stop childhood obesity? Do you disagree with that?
I mean, I just think that it's a very big phrase. Right? Like, at the end of the day, right, body diversity is a real thing.
What does that mean, body diversity? Yes. If we take, bodybuilders, the top of the top, the cream of the crop, are their muscles looking the same? No. So, and like with body diversity in that regard, yes. Muscle shapes are different. Skeletal anatomy is different. But people being fat, that's just them being fat.
There are naturally bigger people. There are naturally smaller people.
So yeah. But first up, a very brief overview of her new job. You may already know who Virgie
I hate this because she's not technically wrong. There are people who are just naturally thicker boned, right? And they're going to just have a harder time having a lean figure, but that doesn't mean they're fat, right? That's an exomorph and an endomorph. Those are the things that she's talking about. Endomorphs tend to be big, while ectomorphs tend to be smaller. Maybe I have that backwards. It's been a while.
is, you may not. But Virgie Tovar is a prominent, quote-unquote, fat activist who recently accepted a new job. The San Francisco Department of Health's new weight czar has gone viral for her proclamation that no one has to be healthy.
What is your definition of health?
No one has to be healthy. No, right?
She's been hired to be a voice
No, you don't have to be healthy. You could choose to live your life like a fat sack of shit.
in the room reminding officials about stigmas faced by overweight people while they are developing public health initiatives.
No one has to be healthy. She has been hired to be the voice in the room reminding officials about stigmas faced by overweight people while they are developing public health initiatives.
Virgie has a lot of very extreme views about health and weight, so I was so surprised when I saw this hire. And for me, I feel very, very strongly that I owe myself health and I owe everyone that I love health. I think I have a duty to everyone in my life to try to be behaviorally healthy. Like, I can't help if I get a disease, but I can at least try to live in a way that doesn't cause everyone else around me anxiety. That's the way I think about it. And that doesn't mean you have to like run marathons, but I think that trying a bit is your moral duty to a degree. And I don't know.
I also think it's like your body is a blessing and it's a gift, right? So like, I think you should try to maintain that gift and take that gift as far as it'll take you, right? Like, I completely agree with this, and to also be for people around you. If someone falls, hurts, trips, you need to be able to be strong enough to pick them up, carry them to wherever they need to be. And if you can't, that's going to haunt you for the rest of your life.
I don't know if everyone has to agree with that philosophy, but it probably should be your philosophy if you have a role in public health. Like, if your job is literally to increase the health of the public, you should have a basic interest in health. Because if you don't care about health, that's cool. You have the right to go set up a casino and cigar stand over there. But you probably shouldn't take a role in public health. I feel like that is extremely fair. But it says her job is to remind officials about stigmas faced by overweight people while they are developing public health initiatives. Now, at first glance, I see nothing wrong with hiring someone to be like, hey, don't worry about your weight, just focus on engaging in healthy behavior.
I hate to say it, but the first thing that's coming up to my head right now is the only reason this chick is probably hired out of response to be like the antithesis of RFK, right? Because if we look at RFK, who's leading, our health department right now, like, what is she even running?
That's a very helpful message. That could be the message that some people need to hear in order.
Like, I get to have fun, and we dunk on India, we dunk on China, we dunk on everybody. We get to dunk on America because this is just back asswards.
To do what they need to do to be healthy. Get your sleep, eat well, be active, try to make progress, and just do what you can from where you're at. If that was the message that Virgie was hired to promote, I see that as a positive thing, even if I don't agree with the rest of her ideas. But when I looked into it, Virgie's opinion actually seems to be the opposite of that. And nowhere is that more clear than her ideas surrounding exercise. So let's go take a look at her Instagram. Let's start first with this Instagram post.
Yesterday, I led a weight bias training for an amazing... What? Yesterday, I led a weight bias training for an amazing group of government workers, and this was one of my favorite takeaways. Sometimes helping to make work safer for people who are marginalized means doing more, but sometimes it means doing less. Oh no, let's see what this is.
Virgie recently conducted a weight bias training to a group of government workers. And this training included the following 4 tips. Ending weight/food bias at work. Helping to decrease stigma around food and bodies at work means doing less of these 4 things. Number 1, talk less or not at all about how you or others eat at work. Okay.
Well, no one's gonna go around saying, yo, I eat carnivore, you should eat carnivore too. But if someone asks, let it be a discussion. And having healthy conversation is healthy. It's also how you can create bonds with people. Maybe you get somebody interested in something, they try it, they have success, now you have a friendship or a connection over something.
Okay, this is already a pretty big ask of your coworkers, I think. Obviously, by this, Virgie really means don't talk about your diet. Do not talk about keto, paleo, carnivore, veganism, calorie counting, protein consumption, sugar.
Once more, shout out to Modi G. He said something and it stuck with me ever since I heard him say it on the Lex Friedman podcast, that the way he handles his diet, his religion, his existence is his personal experience, and he isn't going to force his experience on anybody else. But if someone is interested in his experience, then he will gladly share it. And I was like, damn, that's some like sip on some herbal tea wisdom right there.
Reduction or any other way that suggests that you are moderating what you consume, which is a major double standard because let's be real here. What would Virgie's opinion be if Nancy from accounting brought cake to the office?
It's so rich.
You know that talking about that office cake would be completely fine and perhaps encouraged. Well, unless someone asked for a smaller slice.
CRFI. Inevitably, there's always someone at the party who has to declare publicly that their slice is too large.
Wait, hold on. This is a real skit? This isn't fake? This isn't like a TikTok clip?
Like, there's no way that Virgie is talking about outlawing talking about food in general because she spends half of her Instagram talking about what she's eating. So obviously anyone would be allowed to talk about worshiping junk food at the office, but no one would be allowed to talk about trying to improve their blood sugar levels.
Also, if we want it to be kind of like a douchebag over here in America, we have the freedom of speech.
It's just a little bit backwards. It's a little bit over the top. And it's genuinely concerning that this was part of a presentation given to a government organization. Okay, next tip. Number 2, talk less or not at all about your or others' bodies at work. Okay.
That's fine. That's like, dudes don't ever comment on a woman's body or dress or how they look anymore because they're in fear of sexual harassment. So this is fine.
It's fine. Number 3, talk less or not at all about exercise at work.
Once more, this kind of goes with the first one. If you notice like your coworker has, lost a lot of weight, maybe put on some shoulders, maybe their thighs have gotten a little bit thicker with 2 C's in a good way, you take note of it. The work's paying off, and that allows them to talk about something that they probably been working very hard on.
So this is why I wanted to make this video. Every single person should be annoyed about this. There just ain't no way you're telling people not to talk about exercise at work. First off, that's like saying you can't talk about the weather if the weather made your health better in every single way. Exercise is just so unproblematic. It is literally one of the most health promoting behaviors of all time. Depending on who you ask, sleep might be number 1, but exercise is right up there with it.
I would say sleep is probably number 1, and I'm a meathead hippie guy. I love the Iron Dojo, but sleep is so paramount, and mine is so shitty. It's so chalked.
Regardless of body weight, if you exercise a few times a week, really exercise, even if you don't lose a pound of fat, you will be a way healthier human being. Weight loss.
Your mind, body, and soul will be so much better, so much sharper, and you will be the best version of yourself possible. Truly. If you're in an MMORPG, that's like exercise is quite literally how you level up your character. You get free XP every single day for doing some exercise. You see that with One Punch Man. You see that with solo leveling. You see that in IRL. Look at your boy. I'll lead this by example for y'all. But every day, you can get free XP and level yourself up as a human. Why are you not doing that? Why are you not taking that opportunity?
Is hard and not everyone will achieve it, but if everyone just committed to exercise, it would be an absolute game changer health-wise. And if someone is being hired to represent overweight people in the room and not pushing this message, it's just silly. A health expert discouraging discussion of exercise should not exist. But wait, maybe I have it wrong. Maybe Virgie is encouraging people to exercise. She recently held a Reclaiming Movement After Diet Culture workshop. My heart is so full after hosting the Reclaiming Movement After Diet Culture workshop today. Fat phobia, diet.
I am of the generation. Is it the generation? Probably a generation. Where like certain outfits were a privilege, not a right.
Culture and toxic fitness culture try to convince us that there is a line between legitimate exercise and illegitimate movement. Everything else we do all the time, like laugh, breathe, cry, hug our pals, run to get the last slice of pizza, make tea, bend over to give our fur children a pet, have sex, exist, etc., etc. Okay, well, there is a line. There's a distinction between running to get the last slice of pizza and exercising. But I think what's even more concerning is not only do these things not qualify as exercise, they don't even really qualify as movement. This is a whole workshop that, in theory, would be...
I don't know, getting freaky. Sometimes there's some movement in that. Some sweat, some heavy breathing, elevated heart rate.
Just encouraging people to do what they can, like lower the bar a bit, but be active in your own way. Do something from where you're at. But with
Yeah, literally walking. If you're doing nothing, getting up and walking 20 minutes every day, 10 minutes out, 10 minutes back, wherever that may be, whatever that may look like, that could be the small steps to change your freaking lives.
We can see that she lowered the bar from exercise to just movement, but then didn't even meet that bar. Let's go through this, okay? Laughing. I mean, you can call it movement. I mean, it's not really voluntary though, so it's kind of on the line. Breathing definitely does not count as movement. Crying. I mean, there's been times I would call it movement, I guess. Hugging our pals. I'm not gonna qualify that one as movement. You're stationary, most of that. Running to get the last slice of pizza. Ironically, this is the most movement that is on this list. Making tea. Again, you are stationary throughout the entire thing, doesn't count. Bending over to give our fur children a pet. It scares me that Virgie's experience with day-to-day movement is so limited that bending over qualifies to her as movement. Have sex? Okay, sure, fine. Exist? Virgie, there is a clear line between exercising and existing, okay? I feel like the fact that exist is on this list. Considering that a lot of the time we are existing, it looks like this and this.
Yo, all my foreign amigos, whether you're Canadian, whether you're Indian, whether you're Chinese, Korean, wherever you is from, let me know what you guys think of Americans, like the average American, because Virgie to me seems like what most people think America looks like nowadays. Like, I think most people, when they look at America or think of America, it's just this. I don't want that.
Keep your house really clean. Pick up a sport with your friends.
I don't want that,
Years
yeah.
ago on the channel, I covered a story of a really inspiring person named Jesse Shand. He was like 600 pounds. He could barely stand up. And to get started exercising, he literally just flopped around.
Miskers said that at your weight, you could just literally flop around and lose weight. I laughed, I had to admit. But, let's try that theory.
And that honestly was not only movement, that was exercise. It got his heart rate up, he was sweating, it was exercise, and it changed his life. If we always just
Whoa! That's gonna make me cry, man. I love that shit. On the old school bodybuilding.com shit, fuck yeah, man.
do what we can today and do a little bit better tomorrow, we'll find
That
ourselves
shit's
one day
inspiring.
in a better place in life. And so you'd think that
Fuck
would
yeah.
really be the purpose of her being hired. Here are some clips from longevity doctor and author Peter Attia on the value of adding just a
Peter's
little bit
great.
of exercise to your life.
What's the difference in all-cause mortality if I go from doing 0 exercise to doing just a bit?
Going from 0 activity to just 90 minutes a week is about a 15% reduction in all-cause mortality.
So I'm 15% less likely to die.
And if you go from being completely sedentary to just doing 90 minutes a week.
Okay, I was telling you guys it's super important. Now I can tell you guys are 15. You raise your overall ability. You buff yourself 15% away from death from getting one shot. Okay, 15% more or less likely now to get one shot. That's great. Get that shit as high as possible.
Start looking at the health benefits of, purposeful but not really brisk walking. They're substantial. Walking the dog, the data on gardening. So the health benefits of light physical activity, light exercise, are substantial.
Going from completely sedentary to just doing some movement.
Now, I will say this. That has to be a progression. Once your body will adapt to gardening and the expenditure that you're doing with that, it'll become stagnant. You're going to have to do more. And sometimes it doesn't more isn't always more gardening. Maybe it is starting a little routine, which could be something like just doing some squats and getting down on the floor and getting back up a few times.
Not existing or running for pizza type movement, real movement changes your health radically for the better. So you think that the point of a reclaiming movement workshop would be to promote this message, but instead Virgie's message was literally this. What if instead of trying for more movement each day, we just change the definition of movement? Some of Virgie's finest work, well worth whatever the taxpayers of San Francisco are paying her, I'm sure. Although I did see that the position was worth only like $12,000, so it's not anything crazy. But I mean, given the premises of the workshop, it's probably $12,000 too many. Virgie actually breaks it.
Hold on, wait.
Easy, but I mean, given the premise.
Should San Francisco be spending $12,000 on a weight czar? She gets $1,000 a month being the weight czar. And 98% of people said no.
Of the workshop, it's probably 12,000 too many.
Out of about 1,000 people, 98% of them said no.
Virgie actually breaks it down further, and it honestly just gets worse. The premises of the workshop were, number one, we are all born movers. The universe is always moving, and so are we.
I guess some are moving more than others.
Really saying that we're already moving because the planet is rotating, isn't she? That's what that says, right? I'm not just, the universe is always moving, that's what that says. See, like, what do we actually do with this? The workshop is persuading people that exercise is unnecessary because the planet is rotating. This is why I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. It's too out there for me. I just don't. But it actually blows my mind when I see university after.
No, I think what she means is like we're constantly growing, we're changing, we're constantly moving in that sense, not because the earth is rotating. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but Virgie, is a bit of a stretch in herself.
University has invited
She even real?
Virgie to come and
Like, did
speak.
she just
She's
spawn
given
in?
multiple speeches at Berkeley, a well-respected American university. And it actually kind of messes with your head a bit. You're like, am I missing something here? Or is what this person's saying actually not making any sense? Exercise is the rendering of movement into productivity and outcome. Usually that outcome is modification and disciplining of the body, a way of claiming the body as your responsibility rather than the responsibility of the collective. Exercise is a construction that is designed to generate blame, and that is why it can feel so loaded, so awful, even though it's just 1 foot here, 1 foot there, 1 arm here, and 1 arm there. I don't know where to start. There's so much wrong with it. This is
I don't even know what that even says. And was that a stretching routine or was that her workout? Please, for the love of God, say that was her stretching routine.
the perspective of someone who seriously couldn't possibly imagine exercising for any other reason than hating the way that your body looks. But Virgie, you know you have a heart and it is a muscle. You have a brain. I think
It
thus
is also
far
a
in society,
muscle.
exercise has had terrible
Kinda,
PR.
not
I think
really.
something we do a terrible job of in society is bringing home the message that exercise is not just a weight loss thing. It's barely a weight loss thing. It's a life thing. We all
Yeah, it, like losing weight and like looking good is a byproduct of it for sure. But the health benefits, the mental benefits, the spiritual benefits that you get from it, so like some of those things are the intangible. The way you feel, like it's hard to actually write down a number. We could joke around and say yes, 15% less likely to die, sure. But it feels like there's more benefit to that, even though that's a really big freaking benefit. The day-to-day existence becomes better. It's like if exercising becomes the hardest thing that you do in the day, and that was something you chose to do, everything else in life just becomes so much easier. And a lot of the BS that you get just kind of rolls off the freaking shoulder. And I genuinely believe that mindset comes from just busting your ass in the gym.
need to do it whether we like it or not every single day. In Peter Attia's Outlive, he says we'll actually have to train in order to do the following basic activities when we're like 70 or 80. Go for a nature hike through a hilly area. Pick up a grandchild. Carry in your own groceries. Lift a suitcase into an overhead compartment on an airplane. Open a jar. Have sex. Climb stairs without assistance. Isn't that insane? We won't be able to do any of that basic stuff if we don't train for it. In other words, at the time when most people get to retire, they will have zero quality of life if they don't train for it. And
That hurts my heart because it seems like on my dad's side of the family, it feels like that's the direction that's headed. It's just like the Wall-E type people, and I'm just like, what? Like, just get up and move, man.
if you're very overweight or obese, which is Virgie's audience, it's who she's been hired to represent, you're actually going to need to exercise even more to account for this. And I know a lot of people aren't motivated by who they'll be when they're older, but if you also just want to be your best self in general, like today, exercise is inseparable from this. If you want to have your best brain today, you need to exercise today. I was actually reading this other book, Spark, about the benefits of exercise. There's a
Also, hold on, before you go into this, sorry to pause you. In the middle of this, it just came to me with like performance enhancing, how exercise will perform the performance of your brain. I doubt she's going to bring this up, but in esports and gaming, professional Call of Duty teams like Toronto Ultra, Atlanta FaZe, I believe even like teams like NYSL, they have a performance coach on there who are making these nerds, these gamers, go out, move, and not only are they feeling better, but they're playing better as well.
school in America that has these students exercising
And less
first thing in the
hand
morning,
injuries.
like it's one of their classes, and they're doing really hard exercise, and they're finding that the kids that are taking this class first thing in the morning are crushing the rest of the day. I'll do a video on this book in the future. It's actually wild. And it's really the same with healthy eating too, though. If you want to have your best day today, not to mention when you're old, you got to eat healthy today. Mood, energy, memory, learning, just general like quickness and zippiness of your brain, that is all governed by movement and food and other stuff, but those are important. So yeah, Virgie, f off. Like if you have a problem with the entire concept of exercise,
I fuck with this chick.
it's fair to not like it, okay? But if
Kiana?
you hate it this much, you have to do some inner work, and you probably should not hold a position in public health of any kind. Like hating on exercise because of your experience with diet culture is like hating on vegetables. Oh yeah, that's right. Virgie and her friends did a whole skit hating on vegetables too.
Die, Kale, die! You vegetables! Die, veggie scum! Look at what we can do when we work together to vanquish patriarchy! I mean vegetables.
Not only
I wish I could have unseen that.
that, but Virgie has had some really terrible takes on childhood obesity recently too.
I want to see a good take from Virgie I want to see a good, because I only think she spews out bad ones.
And I can't show you too much of their conversation because Dr. Phil is notorious for copyright striking, but I'm gonna take the risk.
Damn you,
for
Dr.
Virgie's
Phil.
views on childhood obesity. Dr. Phil had Virgie Topor on his show along with this like fit, pro-health medical doctor, and at some point he blatantly asks Virgie if she disagrees with the idea that we should end childhood obesity.
Does anybody disagree that if we can stop childhood obesity from a health standpoint, that we should? Does anybody disagree with that? Do you disagree with that?
What do you think Virgie says to that? Well, she basically
She's gonna be like, no, we need to redefine what obesity means because some kids are supposed to look like the fat Eagle Scout from Pixar's Up.
just flat out refuses to answer the question, just kind of stutters.
I just think that it's a very big phrase, right? Like at the end of the day, right, long-term dieting sets people up to gain weight over
Nobody said
time.
anything about dieting.
So Dr. Phil straight up asks her, if you could push a magic
To gain weight over time. What are you talking? That's just humans. We're going to accumulate, I guess, weight like as we grow, for sure. But eventually there can be a plateau. You can hold, you know, around a certain weight, plus minus 10 pounds, because life happens, right? And then eventually it's going to get to a point where we start losing weight. And that's where making sure that you're fit and healthy, that's when it's honestly the most important.
button and end childhood obesity, knowing all the health and life problems that it causes, would you do it?
If you can push a button and keep a child from experiencing obesity, that's not what I asked you.
That's her response. She's not going to put an end to childhood obesity because childhood obesity is the result of body diversity. Childhood obesity is natural.
She would also lose anybody that follows her because there's not a single person who's healthy or doesn't have a mental disorder who follows her, right? Like everyone who follows her has a mental disorder, probably obese due to that mental disorder, is that poor self-image, and they beacon to her because she is being deemed a beacon of light when she is not.
Seemed to me like a question that anybody would say yes to. If you could stop childhood cancer, would you say yes to that?
Well, I think what's hard is we're using the word obesity when there's actually body diversity, right? Like there are people in this room who have children who are naturally in larger bodies.
Ma'am, you're really not going to put an end to childhood obesity. So yes, Virgie wouldn't.
Okay, yes, larger bodies. If the parents are like fucking Vikings, right? And you have your dad is like the mountain, like the largest dude on the planet. He's probably going to be a little bigger than like two average sized humans having a baby. But that's nothing to do about diverse or obesity. That's just diversity in genetics.
Not put an end to childhood obesity. Even though she went through it herself and had a rough time, she would not put an end to it.
Body diversity is a real thing.
To suggest that childhood obesity happens because of the body diversity thing, it's just not rooted in reality. Like, it's so silly that I would not be talking about this seriously if San Francisco didn't hire her and Berkeley didn't invite her to speak. Like, somebody has to say something. Like, obviously, we're not all genetically the same. We have different reasons for being different body sizes, but body diversity to the tune of children being morbidly obese didn't exist in the 1970s. This number
Absolutely.
has steadily risen for the last 60 years, up from basically zero.
And it's crazy because people like RFK are out there fighting to stop it, and there's people who are against it. Like, come on.
At one point, Dr. Phil completely calls her out and says, you just want to run an agenda about discrimination and ignore health.
You're wanting to run an agenda about discrimination and ignore health.
But
that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Oh,
no, I don't
on.
want to health. I don't want to ignore health at all. I'm saying that
you do want to ignore health because you want to run a social agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Phil. Thank you.
And finally, if we need any other evidence that Virgie probably shouldn't hold any sort of role in public health, even if it's only for $12,000, I present you this article. So I found this article on her old blog where she discusses interrupting an obesity research conference. Her and her friends ran into a meeting of researchers and scientists discussing improving the obesity epidemic and interrupted the whole thing by playing music and yelling, "Correlation isn't causation." And then Virgie was escorted out by a woman who said, "Shame on you" to her, to which Virgie thought, if shame belongs anywhere, I thought, it belongs to the people who are at this conference, not us. You mean the
Jesus Christ.
scientists trying to help people with obesity? Virgie's thinking is so obviously flawed that at some point on the show, even a 14-year-old clapped back at her.
Not the same thing. Race and the size of your body are just not the same thing.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video about a person who...
I can't believe this person even exists. We have an NPC running the health department in San Francisco, and we're paying them $12,000 on top of whatever kind of publicity she's gaining from her social media. How does somebody like this even get into office? Friends, if you see your friends today, point at them and tell them they owe you 25 push-ups. And if they can't do it, then they owe you 25 squats. But they got to try to get 25 push-ups first. And then afterwards, make them laugh. Because that's my challenge to you guys, as always. Make somebody laugh today, because the world is a crazy place. We have, I'm just going to call it what it is, freaking beluga whales running the health department over in California. Man, I thought overseas, I thought over in, you know, maybe other parts of the world were crazy. Our own backyard is crazy. Oh, my God.